Okay, in this video I would like to show you how you can navigate on the 3D view. But before we go into this activity, let's sync up everything, I mean the configuration, because the behavior may not be the same what I showing and what you're getting in your setup. So just let me very quickly configure Blender the way I like it better. If you already have a configuration that you like, I suggest you to backup the configuration file as I'm going to show you, because that's what I'm going to do. So usually you have uh, Blender on Windows, Mac, and Linux create a configuration file. And for Windows, it's usually let me see. There you go. Usually is this path. So you have your username, you have app data, roaming, Blender Foundation, Blender, and the version, and the config folder. So this is the file that Blender uses for store the configuration and preferences. So if you, let's say, close Blender. Okay, you can close, my friend, and then you can come here and either delete. In my case, I'm going to rename because I may like the setup I had before. So let's call this BK, my backup. Yeah, I want to change you. And then next time you start up Blender, you'll be like the first time. You see that I completely lost the theme. And all right, so let me show you my configuration. What I do, I usually go here, file, user preferences, and the window is open in another place. There you go. I have two monitors. Sometimes I have to drag around. Okay, I don't care much about the theming, but what I do is on interface, I usually set up enable rotate around selection and auto perspective. So I think they are really handy. So I think that's all in this tab. Editing, I think it's editing. I never really touched. Input. Oh, okay, input, because I use tablet for sculpting. Blender is very indicated, suggested you to use a mouse with three buttons, where the third button, actually the middle button, usually is the wheel. You can click on wheel, and you may consider to buy one nowadays, 20 bucks or even less, so you can get a decent mouse. But even having the mouse, that's my case. I have the mouse right now. I'm using actually a tracking ball. That's I prefer. And nowadays you also have nice tracking pads. And anyways, it doesn't hurt you emulate three buttons, because will coexist very well with either way. So be free to enable this. If you have Linux, Ubuntu, or Mint, you may need to go to the compositing composics. I think I don't remember. I don't remember exactly the manager, the special effects manager for OpenGL on Mint and Ubuntu, but you need to disable I think the window drag, which is probably the combination of left mouse click and alt button press at the same time. Anyways, we can go this. And you can also emulate numpad if you have a laptop. If you don't have the separate area in your keyboard for the numbers, you may want to check this box as well. I think it's pretty much that. If you have a tablet and you're going to use the tablet, I suggest you to come here on the 3D view global, come here and scroll down until the translate. Translate, and in disable, I think the first one, global, doesn't look to be the first one. The second one, select tweak, it's not clear for me. Okay, I think it's the first one, but you can try both. The issue is when you use your pen to select. If you press and hold select and move a little bit the pen, you see that the object that you have selected will also move, and you don't like that. You don't want that. So anyways, figure out yourself which one is performing this undesired task, and anyways, and whatever. I think that's it. Adds on. It's for beginner. I don't have any suggestion right now. If you're sculpting, maybe the quick how they call quick prefs. Anyways, we can get that once we are talking about sculpting. Themes I prefer to use. Actually, I prefer to use a nice one called Energy, but I think for instruction it's probably better to stick with the original or Blender 24X. I think it's more visible for beginners, and and more, I don't know, standard. I like better for teaching with this theme. Files is up to you. I recommend you don't use the default temporary, because sometimes you may want to see the render results in a more friendly path. So change the path for your user. I don't know, you can say Blender /temp. So anyways, it's up to you. I think that's all for this step. And the system, I like better to increase the 480, 82, but that's because I'm blind. Kidding. But maybe 80 in this monitor. I have a good, decent monitor now, 27, which is great for dealing with Blender. But anyways, and if you have a graphics that supports CUDA, okay, and you must come here if you want to take advantage of this nice hardware and check the CUDA and select the card you have. In my case, I have this 770M. Okay, what else? I think we are pretty much done. And yeah, I don't see anything else here. So save. Important to save your settings, otherwise if you close, when you click save, nothing happened. But if you close Blender and reopen, hopefully, if everything went fine, we'll have the the theme is the same that I was expecting. So that's it. So okay, so let's go quickly. Let me get, so fine, I just check it. I pause a little bit and just check. Is the second translate for if you're using tablets? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the 3D view navigation. So I'm assuming you just you have not touched on these buttons, but make sure you are in object mode here, okay? Because we have many options. So make sure you are in object mode, and this icon here could be. Not this one. Where is it? Okay, I think doesn't apply for this particular. All right, so let's go. How do we navigate here? Okay, so we usually use hotkeys. So dealing with Blender is one hand on the mouse and the other hand on the keypad, on the keyboard. And we have these nice hooks here to, to bring things up and down. But we actually, when you are really working, uh, you'll be using hotkeys, believe me. Just after 1 or 2 days using modeling, you won't be using too much these graphic tools here, okay? And but anyways, let's talk about the view in the first place. So how do I rotate the entire view, okay, around the object? Remember, we select to rotate around the selection, so you always rotate around the selection. Okay, how do we select an object here? Okay, we select the object. It's different than any other or most applications in Blender. In Blender, you select the object using the right click. Remember, right click. Get used to, because in Blender, and stick with, despite you can change the setups, you may find anyways, it's if you go to the tutorials, not tutorials, but the forums, there are so many discussions about that. But anyways, my suggestion, go with the right click and don't touch it. Don't change that. Use the right click and I got to use it too. Okay, so if I want to select this object here, everything here are objects, right? So if I want to select the light, I right click, see that the color change, and the pivot here, I think they call pivot this guy here. That's the name? I think it is it. 3D manipulator widget. Okay, that's the name. All right, so the official name. If you want to select the camera, you right click. If I want to select the cube, I right click. All right, so how do you go around? You can click and hold the middle button of your 3-point mouse, or in my case, I don't have the 3 buttons mouse and wheel. I have a tracking ball. I will be simulating. I will press Alt and then left click and then drag around. Notice that the view is going around the box. If I select the light, I'm going around the light. If I select the camera, I go around the camera. Okay, the camera becomes static on the screen. Okay. Okay, let's select the box again, the cube. And if you want to pan, you can shift the click on middle mouse and drag. In my case, I will be shift alt left click. So this is my the pan. Okay, and to zoom in and zoom out, you can use the wheel. I don't have wheel. I will be using Control Alt left click, and then I can zoom in and zoom out, or I can use plus or minus keys on your keyboard. Okay, so that's pretty much the way you navigate. You can also change the perspective and also go to a predefined views. We are by default in user perspective, but if you go to your keyboard and let me bring up my, okay, what you can do is using your number pad on your keyboard. Okay, number 1, you bring the front when it works. Okay, I have to probably activate it. Okay, number pad 1. Okay, it's better when you select the window first. That was another application. All right, when you press 1, you go to orthogonal view. So there is no perspective here. And you have the front view. Okay, 3, you go to the right view. 7, the top view. And I think 5 you toggle between perspective and orthogonal. I barely use that. I usually use 1, 3, 7, and when I want to see something perspective, I just rotate and automatic switch to perspective mode. But anyways, it's up to you. Okay, let me bring my sheeting sheet, because I don't have by heart everything. I usually keep what I use at most. I think everybody does like the same. Okay. Control number 1, you go to the back. Control or Shift? No, Control. Control. Keypad number 1. Better if you select the Control 1. Go to the back, and every time I click here, I take my and Control 3, we go to the left side, and Control 7 goes to the bottom. Is opposite of the without the control. Okay, so I think it's easy to remember. So the decimal point brings the object that you have selected. Let's select the camera. You say press like the decimal number, it brings you and frame better the object that you have selected. Okay. In this case, like if I select it back the box and press decimal point, we'll be zooming automatically. All right, I think this is pretty much what I have for the hotkeys. There is another hotkey. It's let's say you want to see multiple views. You can okay, I want to see at the same time I'm using let's say I want to move Y, but I also want to see what's going on the other axle. So you are free to come here, open another window, say, okay, this window you have orthogonal 1, and so when I move here, I can see both ways, and I can come here and say, okay, and what about this one? I will be from the top, so you can see what's going on. Anyways, Blender has something more friendly if you want to see many views at the same time. And keep the short key for that, the hotkey is Control Alt Q. Control Alt Q. To be honest, I think I never used that, but anyways, it's here, so you can see what's going on when you do something. Well, when you're trying to align things, it makes sense, but anyways, it's a tool that's available, and you know, if you just go and press again Control Alt Q, toggles back, so it's not too bad. So it is a good thing. And one thing that's very usual, very useful, is the 0. Okay, when you press 0, you toggle between the hidden camera. We have a camera looking at the object, right? But this is the camera that belongs to 3D view. Okay, and you have a camera here that is actually the camera that is shooting the video. When you render, right? You see what the render is about in a couple of seconds. But anyways, when you press 0, you are looking through the camera, and here is the frame where you are framing the target scene, right? So 0 again, you toggle. So I'm looking at the scene using the 3D camera, which you don't have much access. And 0 again, you have, I didn't say you have access, but anyways, for now, let's assume that. And okay, what about render? So when you do the result of any work, will probably uh, lead you to rendering. Rendering is to create the final image. Okay. How we render something. All right. So if you want to see the final result of this, the effect of the the light, your model, the texture, the colors, etc., you'll be pressing this button here. Well, there are other buttons, but let's assume the simplest way. When you press this button here, you see the final result. Okay, it doesn't look so pretty now, but you'll be improving as we go along. Okay, and you can press escape to go back to your 3D view. All right. Another way is to press F12 if you are on a Mac. F12 I think means to bring the, how they call that, the F12 I think brings the calculator and the calendar and I don't remember, but F12 on Mac is already mapped, so you probably won't be able to just press F12, but on Windows and Linux F12 works. And of course there are animation, but we'll see these in details later on. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about object transformation. I think that's the term used by OpenGL, but what we can do with object. With object we can translate, is nothing else than moving. Let me go to one more friendlier view. I think the perspective is, oops, it's upside down. Right, what about now? Better now. Okay, let's keep this way. All right, what I can do, I can translate, which is a fancy term for moving. Some claim that's a bit different, but anyways, it's another topic that's polemic. But translation means moving, and here is the control, the meaning of this widget. Okay, so we can get it rid of, so we can, or you can bring it back. Okay, this button here toggles if you want or if you don't want to use. Most people after the 1 week give up using this and just use this. Okay, all right. Okay, you say, hey, but if you don't have this, how you move? Okay, you use for G is the hotkey for grabbing. So if I press G, you can see that I have completely freedom to move around. Let's say, oh, but it was nicer the other one because I could just move on a Y, on the green axle. Okay, but if you press Y right now, notice that I'm completely limited to the Y. Okay, let's say you give up. You say, oh, you know what? It's my mistake. Okay, you can either commit and press Ctrl Z or Z. If you're in Canada, Z. If you're in US or UK or whatever, is Z. So you can either commit by pressing left key, or you can just escape. Press escape, you go back and abort completely. Okay. All right. So let's go back and go to the beginner's way for the things. What else I can do using my 3D manipulator? I can also rotate. Okay, and I use these circles here as handles for rotation. Again, you can press escape to abort. Okay, so here is around the X in red, and anyways, you have all three axles for rotating, or you can also forget about this and use R. R will rotate, right? So now we are rotating around the plane of the 3D view, but I can restrain this. I can say, okay, I want to rotate on around the X. So just press X and then you'll be rotating only on X. So that's why I said use the keyboard, right? Because after a couple of days you give up. Same way we can rescale. So we have this, and I can grab one of these handles and scale in one way, in another axle, on Z or Z, whatever. But again, as most of applications, Control Z goes back. If you're on a Mac, the Command Z or Z. And same way, you have a hotkey for this. And so I can disable this one and say, okay, it's S of scale. S, if you just press S, you'll be equally scaling. If I say like Z or Z, you notice that it's constrained now to the height, to the Z or Z axle. Okay, so that's it. Another thing is that you can use numeric things. Let's say I want to rotate this 45 degrees on X. So I can say R 45, sorry, X, well, accept it. I usually do all the way around. I usually do R X 45 and enter. So this will give you be sure that it's very important sometimes to have a numeric input for 90 degrees when you are, anyways, it's very handy to enter numeric values sometimes. Yeah. Okay, another thing that is missing is to make this single screen or full screen. That sounds strange. But anyways, if you shift space, you have this frame, the 3D view expanded. Okay, and shift space again. You toggle back. You can also use Control up arrow up or Control arrow down. It's same thing. They do exactly the same. All right. So I think we covered most of what I wanted for this video. Let me just check if I'm forgetting something else. Let me pause a little bit. Okay, I took a look at my notes. What is missing here? I'll type Ctrl Z, Ctrl Z. Here. Wrong keyboard. Ctrl Z. That's it. What is missing here is different ways for doing selection. We can do later. But let me show you how to duplicate one object. Okay, very simple things that I think I should cover on this tutorial. How do I save something? Okay, let's say I completely change the shape of this, scale this way. I want to save this. Okay, so you come here. It's pretty much like any other software. Save as and give a name. My test. Okay, my test. One thing that we usually do, we put a number at the end, 001. That's very handy. I'll show you why. So and you save. So let's say let's start a new one and say, oh, you know what? Now I want to load that one that I had saved. Same thing. Any other program will come and will open, and you even have actually. Let me abort this because you have load recent. Open recent. Here is my test 001. Why is handy? Let's say you change something. Okay, you can just say File, Save As, press plus, and see that already have incremented to 2, because you always have to incrementally work and save your work. or you will be dead, because it's really Blender can crash. You may not like the result. So once in a while, save. If you are doing something, some transformation or something that you might, regret, always save before. And you can have short keys as well. You can press Shift Control S and plus button, and enter. Notice that we are already on the tree and we are done. So it's very fast to save a file. Okay, so what is missing now? Let's Control Z, Control Z. Wrong keyboard. Going crazy with those two keyboards. All right, so that's how I duplicate one object. Okay, I think you can use the menu. Object, duplicate objects. And then let's say, oh my God, I want to put just beside on Y axle. Remember, you can press Y and constrain the grab. Okay, now we have two objects. How do I select one and the other? I have already show you with the right click here, select this guy, right click here, select this guy. What about if you want to select both? Okay, you shift, right click, and then both are selected. And guess what? You can do transformations at both at once. That's cool. That's very nice. And there are some smart algorithms to judge that you may want to do and consider the center between the center of the objects. Anyways, we can talk more about it, and you depend also what kind of selection we have here. We can talk more later about this thing here, but usually I leave this in a bounding box center. That's my preferred way, or median point, either way. I prefer even better this, because that tells you the reference for doing transformations. Now you're using always middle point, right, or center point. In this case, it's using the center of the both centers together, right? So how I deselect one of them? Let's say I have three objects selected. So shift the camera, right click. So what I'm doing wrong? Oh, wrong keyboard again. I have to throw away this sacred keyboard. So I have three selected. I want to deselect this one. Okay, same thing. Shift, right click will toggle the command. So this is not selected anymore. If I want to, let's say, move this to grab. Oh my gosh, it's selected still. Okay, now worked. There you go. Not sure why I failed the first time. Okay, there are other ways to select things. Is an unselect the A key. If I press A, and if I have any object or objects already selected, A will deselect all. So I will press A. All are deselected now. You know what? I forgot to do something handy. Let me bring my my N panel. And there is this nice, where is it? Okay, I forgot to bring it. Never mind. I'll show you next time. But anyways, A, select all or deselect all. If none is selected and you press A, everything is selected. If you select, if you have any selection, A will deselect all. If I have two selections, like this and this, A will deselect both. So A is everything or nothing. All right. And we have C. C brings me this ball. We can use this, not sure if my screen recorder will show, but there is a circle that if you move the wheel or the plus and minus button, you increase or decrease the size. and everything inside. If you left click now, you can use left click, you'll be selecting, and you don't need to use shift. Actually shift deselect, my mistake, the right click deselect, my mistake. Okay, let's do it again. See, okay, wrong one. Oh, I have to throw away A, C. Okay, select this, this, this. If I want to deselect, I can press shift and go one by one to deselect. All right, there is another one which is B. A, B, C is basically when you want to abort, you have to press right click. It's not very consistent, I agree, but B, it creates an area where you press left key and drag, everything inside the rectangle will be selected. Okay, and if you want to use the same way for deselect, you can press B, shift, everything that's inside the rectangle now will be deselected. Yeah, so that we'll be repeating this. Don't worry. I think lots of information at once, but you get very easily because we'll be repeating all these things, and I will be mentioning again. Okay. I think for this tutorial that's what I had. Thank you very much and have fun.